G'day my friends, Marty Ware here from Marty's Garden with an awesome video for you about seasonal worm farming. Yes, lots of tips. I'm going to be talking about seasonal worm farming and how to take care of your worm farms. Right now, we're a few days off winter, it's getting cold, and I've got to make some changes to these worms. Now, they have been absolutely powering, but one thing, I've got to get this straight. I won't be making lots of worm farming videos, but I will keep you guys updated on what's going on. They're a part of my organic gardening homesteading or urban homestead arsenal, right? If you can call this place an urban homestead. Some people have been arguing about it online, saying you got no animals, you're not a homestead. So look, it doesn't matter. We're changing the mindset of how we do things here. And now I've got this big space, I can really go for it because I don't have to move from renting and that all the time. I'm pretty excited about this. So stay tuned for the tips. I'm going to let you know what I'm doing. And then if you're going into spring and summer and all that type of stuff, I'll let you know a few tips about what you can do for your worms too, because it's all about temperature, guys. You got to keep your worms active and not too hot or not too cold. And let's head down, take a look at mine right now, shall we? So I think it's about 11 degrees right now. The sun's just starting to come up. The cows are sort of like starting to move around the back. You might hear a few mooing soon. And the worms have been fairly cold, but they're underneath this sort of shelter bit here. So, you know, the cold air doesn't drop on them as much. It's more what's down low and it's not getting that full big dew. So that was just by pure mistake, to be honest, and pretty glad that that's happening like that. And they are feeding quite hard, but I can't put the water through them too much at the moment because the water's cold and I haven't got a way to warm up the water yet. And so I'm just putting little bits, and I'm putting bits of paper and stuff on top and keeping the cardboard and that very moist on the top, using like the egg carton method or just soaking newspaper, putting that on top, and that way there's enough moisture going through and keeping them nice and happy, and they're feeding up in that top zone. Now, what do you do if it's coming into summer and it's getting too hot? What do you do then? So without talking about temperatures too much all the time, think about the temperature that you like to be at. What are you comfortable at? Well, that's what worms like too. So, overly fluctuation of hot to cold can really mess them up, and they will stop breeding and feeding as much and become less active. When they get too cold, they just roll up a little ball and go dormant until it warms up. And when they get too hot, they dive down or chase moisture, and they'll move away from the feeding zones and go where it's cooler. They're always chasing temperature and moisture and food. They're the three things. So in the really hot times, you can get some plastic bottles and put them on top, put ice, wrap them in some paper or some towels and keep them cool that way. And you can also put like a cling wrap around, not a cling wrap, like a bubble wrap around them as well to insulate them, to keep them warm or cold. This is another thing that people do. And be aware that when it's really hot, if you're pouring water in, you don't want to go too hard with the water, because if the worm farm's really hot and you pour cold water in, it takes all the oxygen out. So you just want to keep moisture just slowly moving through the levels. This is the key. And really in the times when they're doing really well and everything's sort of like, you know, around that sort of like 19 to 23 degrees, I think that's 70 something in Fahrenheit. Let me know in the comments box down below. When it's like that and there isn't too much fluctuation of temperature, you can pour the water through and get your liquids out of it. You can also, in summertime, if you've got warm water in the mornings, that's the best time to do it, or late afternoons, pour the water through it and get your liquids out and start using it on the garden that way. For me, I've got to move all these guys behind me here, and they're going into different parts of the garden. They're going into underground worm farms, we're creating towers, different things to get them working, and then I'll restock these back here over time, and these will become my stock systems to move out into the garden. So let's have a look in one of the worm farms now, shall we?
So this farm probably doing the best, and this was the one that was the recent video about how to make a worm farm. So if you watch that video, I'll put a link up there for it. If you watch that, you'll learn exactly why this one is pumping so good. It really is the perfect setup for getting started. All right, let's have a look, shall we? So as you can see, I mentioned I'm not wetting them down too much because it's too cold, but this is really moist and it's not too cold when I'm feeling it. I've got a temperature, I should be probably measuring it, but I don't have it with me. And so let's do the big unfold. Dun, 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 dun. Look at that. You can hear them moving. I don't know if it'll come onto the camera sound, but that is just thick. And for some reason they're feeding on the edge here. We've got a whole lot of different foods. And in the middle, that's the chicken pellets. And that's for the little babies to grow them nice and thick and to really get them breeding. So they're basically feeding and breeding right at the moment as we speak. Now, I'm just going to fold this back again and put the lid back on. I don't want to disturb them too much. And as I said, there's no real liquids coming through here, just a tiny little bit of leachate. And I'll just pour that back through onto the farm just to keep them moist. Now, this farm isn't doing as well. So I'm going to give you a look. And I've had this type of mold appear, and I've never seen this before. And I don't think it is affecting the worms too much, but look, it's quiet as. They just didn't do as well. Now, some go, oh, Marty, not doing that great, but you know, like it's not doing as good as the other farm. And the thing is when we get really good farms, I think we take care of them more because we're like, oh, that one's cranking, I'll take care of that one a bit better. And it's just a subconscious thing, but it's still doing quite well. And we've got numbers enough to move this one out into the garden. And this one's pretty similar, same, you know, sort of doing a bit better. And here is the, look, this is the tower, and this guy's moving out into the space in the full sun. And we're going to grow plants all around this. And this is like a sumping system, fertilizing sumping system. So let's have a look inside here. So again, we've got some other little bugs and stuff hanging up the top here where it's drier, and then underneath you can see worms there. So we'll just move that across there. You can see worms there. Now we've got a lot of the night crawlers have done really well. They love the bigger systems. So there's a lot of night crawlers in here. I'd say there's African and Europeans. When they get really big, look at them just moving through all that stuff there, look. Crazy, I can actually hear them. And probably under here as well, yeah, look. So there's literally thousands, there's tens of thousands in here. And we'll just put the lid back on, and I'm going to have a chat with you about this farm and what we're going to do. There is another farm over there. That one's doing really well as well. And we've got 6 small farms and this one big one. But let's have a chat about this one big farm here, because this is a really interesting system, and it's very similar to my biggest worm farm ever. So this is the biggest worm farm ever system. Now, I got this one for free. It's a recycled one. They're not as big or as round or as wide as my other original systems that I've shown you, but I'll leave a link up there and down below as well about the biggest worm farm systems ever. Now, I did make a mistake. I didn't film too much about the plants that were growing around the outside of it and the massive amounts of cherry tomatoes that we grew. I made about $400 from one plant, one cherry tomato plant, using this method. And we're going to actually make it again. We're going to do it again. It's moving out into the main garden, and we're going to put a teepee around it and grow the tomatoes straight over the top and some other plants. And you can walk in and just take the lid off, check the worms, feed the system. Everything flows down through as you water it into the garden around below and just makes plants pump. So it's a system that's basically for free. You just got to buy one of these, put your compost in over time, breed your worms up, keep it shaded,
and man, it produces food like no tomorrow, and I'm super excited to get this moved out into the garden because it's not too hot now out in the sun, and we should be able to grow up the plants in spring to cover it over, so we'll all be working together in system. Alright, so if you're enjoying the videos, make sure you stay subscribed or subscribe. We're over 50,000 subscribers now, and the goal is to get to 75,000. That's the next goal, and I'm going to be here with my partner doing that, well, my fiance Shirley, and really excited to do that. I think Karen might be coming in on the show to do some editing and things, and we can really ramp things up. It'd be unreal if we could run like a daily vlog here or get out 5 videos a week, depending on how we go getting the surfing stuff going as well, because I've got a link down in the surf below also for the surf channel for those who surf. That is absolutely cranking. We did something like, I think of the 3 channels we did 300,000 views all up, and that includes one of the main surfing channels. So combining them all together and putting this production, so Marty Ware Productions together, it's really exciting. And I don't know, I'm waffling on a bit now. Just stay tuned to the channel because heaps happening. See you soon. Bye for now.